Hey guys, how's it going? This is Tim Shaves, and this is going to be another honing video. Going to be re-honing one of the straight razors that I have. Kind of hard to show you guys. How do I get this angle? Alright. It's going to be this razor. This is the Geneva Cutlery razor that I cleaned up. It's looking a little rough in certain spots. My sanding skill is not the best, and this was in pretty rough shape. But as you can see, there is there is a bevel established by the edge, both sides. However, I don't think this. Sorry. I don't think this bevel is maxed out yet. Basically, what I mean is that the cutting efficiency of this razor is not quite there. Even when I finished it on the Black Arkansas, it wasn't cutting cleanly. Like, it would cut maybe like 85% of the growth, but I want like a 95% to 100% cutting power. And I do have that with a couple of the razors, just not this one yet. So I'm going to be re-honing this, starting from the very bottom. I'm just going to do a little shot of the thumbnail if I can get it. I don't know how YouTube does it, but here's a razor, black scale. I think it's a plastic. Yeah, but I'm starting from the bottom. This one is the Bevel setter, Shapton 1.5K, and yeah, I'm gonna start here. And what I realized is that most of the groundwork, like the heavy duty work, happens at this bevel setter level. Like, if I don't get this stage right, then it doesn't really matter what other stones I use. I need to have that cutting edge, that bevel set, and then straight and sharp. And then on the other stones, I could polish them up, make it a little more comfortable on the skin. But I feel like this bevel setting, the lower 1000K around, or 1000 grit level, is really important. And I know that's what Keith says about too. Keith Johnson, go check him out. He knows a lot about straight razors and honing and all these different stones. So that is it. Yeah, I'm gonna hone on this Shapton today. But before that, I got a couple new stones, or I was sorry. I got, I guess, one new stone, but also a Slayer stone with it. So I'm just wanted to share it with you guys. This is a Belgian cauticule. It says handmade in Belgium. This one is selected grade. I don't know what the difference is, but it looks a little more grayish in color. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but it looks very gritty. There's a lot of white particles. Those might be the quartz kind of embedded in there. I think, I'm not sure what the particles are called, but I think they're called like spessartine quartz. I don't remember the right term, but it feels, or it looks gritty, but it feels very smooth. And I checked it out with my ruler, and it's lapped pretty flat. So I'm glad I don't have to lap it further. So I got this. This is a large stone, but it's about, I don't know, maybe a little more than 6 inches and about 2 inches wide. It's not the biggest stone I have, but I think it'll get the job done for the finishing. And I also have a little slurry stone over here with a standard grade. And I believe this on the bottom, it's nothing special. It is just a Portuguese slate, which you don't really use it for honing. So just a slate bottom, and then a Belgian cauticule on the top. So excited to try this one out later on. I know cauticules can be a bit challenging, but yeah, that's another finishing stone that I will use. And the water dried up already, so this is a bit of a, I think it is a bit of a thirsty stone, but it's supposed to be a splash and go. So I'm just gonna wet it again, Just wet the surface of the stone. Make sure it's good to go. And with this straight razor, it cuts pretty well, as I said before. Cuts arm hair, it cuts the stubbles down, but just not at 100% efficiency. So let's get going. Also, I have this is a bit of a different perspective. Hopefully it works out well for you guys, but I don't think I'll have a lot of work to do with this razor, but it just needs some work. And also, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a little increase in bevel towards the middle, and then less bevel on the two corners, and then kind of the opposite on the other side. So increasing bevel on the two sides, and the middle thinner bevel. So, which means that it has a little bit of a warp to it. But the bevel is continuous, so you see the bevel all the way across, and it's not that bad. So I think I could fix this one up, or I could get a good edge on this one. But we'll see. The little bit of a warp might interfere with me getting the best edge I can get, but this one's also an American-made razor. I've had some good success with it so far, so I'm excited to keep going with this. All right, let's get honing. I'm talking too much. All right, and I'm gonna start off with some light pressure here, almost the weight of the blade. Just keeping a light touch, going back and forth, and then some X strokes. I probably won't be finishing this one up until I test it out at that 12K level. I feel that it takes, especially working with the Arkansas stones, it takes quite a bit of time and effort. It probably takes me like 30 minutes to finish on that one stone. So, and if I finish it up and I get a mediocre edge out of it, then I'm kind of left a little bit frustrated, because I have to go, I feel like I have to go all the way back down to this bevel setting stage, and it just takes forever to go all the way back up. So what I'm gonna do is just start here, make sure the bevel is set, maxed out, as sharp as it can be. Take it up to 12K, shave at that level. I mean, I know Keith Johnson, he shaves at the 1K level too, which I probably can do that, but I feel like there is a possibility of me rolling the edge during some of the stones up in the progression. So I feel like it's probably best to shave at that 12K level, and if I can get it right, then I could take it up to the finishing stone. Alright, right now I'm just kind of honing without thinking. I know I need a sharper edge. I'm just rehydrating the stone right here. I don't know, just taking off some of that swarf. I'm going to test it out with the thumb, wet my thumb, and give it a little bit of a test here. Feels a little smooth. I think the black Arkansas finish kind of smooths out the edge even on the thumbnail, or not on the nail, so it's got some a little more work to it. At this level, I wanted to grab my thumb really tight. At least that's when in my experience, when it grabs the thumb really tight, then that's when I have that bevel set. That might not be a good test, but it's just one of the tests that I do. And also, I inspect it visually, see if there's any like weird spots on the blade. Also, cut some of the arm hair with it. But it's a little difficult sometimes, because even if it cuts the arm hair really well, sometimes it won't go through the stubbles that well. So it really depends. I feel like I'd have to do multiple tests with it and make sure it's good on all angles before kind of moving on. Also, judging the, I forgot what it's called, the undercut, basically how the water moves or how the edge moves the water. That can be a good indicator of if the bevel is set. So far, it's kind of hard to tell the undercut, but it doesn't really have an undercut right now. It has some, it's pushing the water back and forth, but not enough to where I'll be satisfied with it. So I'm just gonna keep on at it. I am keeping a minimal pressure, just barely keeping the razor on the stone. I find that using this minimal pressure is beneficial for the edges that I do. I can use some pressure, but that would be for more like new blades that like really need some steel removed. This one I feel like doesn't have a lot of steel to remove, so I'm just gonna keep this light pressure on and continue at it. Also, I've been almost honing every day, so I would work, come back home, and then hone, get dinner and hone, and then sometimes I'll do it till late night, honing. But last couple of days I've been taking a break. Honing is very interesting. It is enjoyable at times, but also when you can't get that smooth edge, or that one that cuts well, it can be frustrating too. So I feel that it's yeah, it's fun and frustrating at the same time. So I think it's good to have a couple of days of breaks before coming back to honing. Now I have the same kind of interest back, kind of enthusiasm for honing, so it's nice. And I'm excited to really get a sharp edge on this one, because I really love how this razor looks, and just I really like this razor. Yeah, Geneva Cutlery. I think it's 11/16, if I'm not mistaken, or just by kind of looking at it, guessing. And one thing that I'm noticing right now is the feedback of the blade. It's kind of getting this nice kind of, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's a little different from the start. Kind of like slicing paper or something, but like just like kind of grazing across the stone. It's a different feeling. Sometimes I'll feel this like heavy like steel grinding on the stone, which is a bad sign for me. It means that something is off, probably with the geometry of the razor. That blade is probably warped, something like that. But when I get this nice grazing on the stone with minimal pressure, it's usually a good sign, or sign that it is almost good to go on to the next stone. But just continue a couple more. I'm just gonna rinse the blade off, and I'm gonna flip the stone over this way so that I get a even wear on the stone. I don't want to stay on one side of the stone for too long, because it's gonna dish out that side. So just gonna wet the stone again, get some of the swarf out, and then I flipped over to the other side so that I was using this side. Now I'm going to be using mostly this side here. I guess it really affects more on the X strokes because I kind of go this way diagonally. On the back and forth strokes like this, it's not, I guess you get a more even use of the stone, but when you go with the X strokes, you tend to use the right side a little more, so it's good to flip the stone over to the opposite side. Alright, getting some nice feedback right now and a nice feel. I can really feel the steel glazing, not glazing, but grazing over the stone. So I'm gonna test it out again with the thumbnail. Oh, it's grabbing, but not as much as I like. It's weird. It still feels kind of smooth on the, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna continue at it. I feel like this, the feel on the thumbnail should change soon, but it's not really changing right now. Maybe I need to add a little more pressure. I don't know, but I feel like I shouldn't need to do that. I'm just gonna continue at it for a bit. So this is kind of like what I'm thinking as I'm honing this razor. Oop, I added a little too much pressure there on my my left hand. And if I do that, I could roll over the blade with a little too much pressure. But as I'm honing this, I'm basically trying to kind of diagnose and troubleshoot through this edge and what I need to do in order to improve on this edge. Right now the goal is to max out the bevel to get it as sharp as possible. I don't really care about the comfort right now. I just need that bevel set. And once that is set, I could move on to the other stones, the higher grits, to polish out the edge and make it more comfortable on the skin. But for now, I just need that sharp edge. Continuing on the X strokes here. And I feel most comfortable with using two hands. I could do one-handed strokes, but sometimes I use a little too much pressure, and sometimes not all of the edge is on the stone. So I'm still not comfortable using one hand, but I will do it for, I don't know, variety's sake and just to mix it up, the honing. Put a little bit of different pressure. And I can see a bit more of the undercut on the blade, especially going backwards. You can really see some of the water kind of riding on the edge. There's a little bit going forward, but more on the way back. Let's try out this back and forth stroke here. Remember, I think I did a little bit of a rolling stroke with this razor, maybe towards the toe, but I really I don't like doing rolling strokes. I feel like it makes it a bit inconsistent for me because I don't know how much to lift up the blade for the heel and the toe, and I just feel like having a flat stroke is a lot more consistent in what I get. And I feel like I rolled over the edge sometimes doing rolling strokes, so I try to just do these flat strokes. Keep it like that. Hope you guys are having a good day. I know the video is getting a little bit long. What is that? Almost 20 minutes now? Okay. Yeah, but this is basically what I do on my free time, just honing and kind of, I don't know, just at that time I felt a little bad. Yeah, but yeah, just relaxing, enjoying its stroke, and just trying to get that smooth, sharp cutting edge. It's been fun. For those of you guys watching this video, are you guys interested in straight razors and honing? I know it can be quite a big hurdle to start, and there are resources out there in the internet, but I feel like it's a little bit, there's not as much as like starting out with it for safety razors. I feel like there's a little bit more resource, and it's not, I mean, I feel like honing is definitely an art that a bit different from DE and Chevettes. It's very unique, and it has a lot of history behind it, especially with the straight razors and the stones. Like Belgian codicils, they've been out for a while. I think at least since the 1800s, probably. I mean, probably they're older. Like these stones have been, yeah, they've been with us forever. But I know, like in the barbers back then would use these to hone their razors and such. There's a lot of history behind it, and there's a lot of older resources too. Yeah, so it's a fun little hobby to pick up. Definitely a little expensive, because once you get into it, just like any other hobbies, you're gonna have to spend some money on it. But I find that you can work with a minimal setup and still enjoy it. And actually, working with a minimal setup is probably better for you, because you don't have to crowd yourself with all these different suggestions that you get from the forums. There's millions of advices that people give, and like, this is the best way, and no, this is the best way, blah blah blah. I'm just trying to figure out what works for me and kind of stick with it. All right, it still feels a little smooth, like right here. You guys can't really see it, but yeah, right here, it should grab, but I'm not feeling the blade grabs my thumb. That's just really the first step. I feel like I could do an arm hair cutting test, but if it doesn't really grab, it will not cut that well. I will try that. All right, I'm just gonna get some hair on my back of my hand. It's actually cutting pretty well, but for some reason it doesn't really grab on the thumb nail. So I'm just gonna keep at it, because I've had edges where it grabs or it cuts arm hair really well, but when I shave with it, it'll just feel a little mediocre. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue at it. I probably will go for a couple more minutes, maybe until 30-minute mark, and then if I don't get it, then I don't get it. I'll just spend more time on this bevel setting stage. But so far, I am getting some improvement, but not as much as I'd like. So continue adding here. And I have to look at the undercut more closely, see if the entire edge is getting the attention that it needs. Because sometimes some parts of the blade won't some parts of the edge won't touch the stone. So if it doesn't and you keep doing this, basically you're going to be wasting your time. So it's I guess one test out there is the tap and wobble test that Dr. Matt does. That kind of tells you if your blade is needs like geometry fix. This one seems pretty good. Maybe a slight lift at the toe, but yeah, this side is good. The other side maybe a slight lift, but I don't think that's pretty good enough. I'm just gonna keep at it. I think if I use a little more pressure, I probably can get it faster, but also I feel like the more pressure you use, like the less refined the edge gets. I don't know if that's true, but I just feel like I'd rather go with less pressure than more. I know Dr. Matt, one of his videos, he was saying like you need to like use some pressure when you're honing, like, or like people are like scared of pressure or something. And I think in some aspect, like when you get a gold dollar, you definitely need to use some pressure to remove steel. But when you are in that kind of, when you don't need to remove steel that much, I feel like you don't need to use a lot of pressure. And right now, I don't feel like I need to use pressure, but it is taking a while. So it just, I'm just gonna keep at it the same way I'm doing. If it doesn't change, I'll have to change up something to make this edge work. For some reason, when I go one hand, the stroke going forward feels a little more awkward than the other one coming back. I felt some roughness, probably because my mistake going forward, but yeah, coming back it feels very smooth. And this might take, I don't know, 30 more minutes. You probably don't want to sit through the 30 more minutes of me just going on the stone. But this is what I really find important in that basic step. The first stone that you use, making sure the bevel is set, making sure it's sharp, good to go before putting all these polishing and sprinkles on top of it. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so getting some undercut. Definitely not, let me see more closely. Let's slow down. Yeah, not a lot of undercut in the middle here. Coming back. There's some, but I think the warp of the blade is affecting the undercut here. And if you're not getting a good undercut, basically means that your edge is not really changing as you hone. Or no, that's not it. Let me rephrase that. If you're not getting a good undercut, it means that your edge is not there yet. But so the more you spend on the stone, theoretically you should get a better undercut. But if you have a warp on your blade, you may never get that undercut that you want. So which means that you're going to be spending a lot of time on the stone, and then at the end still not have that good edge that you want, that bevel set. And this, I don't know, I feel like I should be able to get a decent bevel set here, but being a little troublesome. It's not really grabbing onto my thumb. It is cutting hair, but not as much as I would like. Or not, it's cutting hair, but I need to really have grab my thumb to know that. Kind of just go through checks on different tests. Visually it looks fine. I know there are some warps, there's some warp on the blade, but I'm trying to work through it right now, and I'm not getting that good undercut going forward. There's a little bit, but I get more coming back, which means that I think the warp is basically blade warp is like a half moon. I'm exaggerating it, but from here to here, coming back, it's kind of a downwards moon, half moon. So you get a little more undercut. Okay, so it's past 30 minutes now, so I'm just gonna wrap it up here. Basically, it can take me 30 minutes to bevel, and I'm still not there yet. So, I think I've spent like 5-6 hours trying to set a bevel, and you can see it by incredible amounts of hone wear that I do. And I don't really like using tape, although I should get in the habit of using tape sometime, but I really like honing just the razor by itself. But, alright, after 30 minutes, 32 minutes, let's see what I got. So in the beginning, the edge really didn't grab that much. It felt a little smooth. It did grab a bit, but not as much as I'd like. Alright, looking at it. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, visually, is it touching all the bevel? Looks fine visually. I don't know. It's always a challenge. Alright, thumb test before I go. Toe. Still a little smooth towards the toe. Smooth there. I don't know. It feels very similar to. It's improving, but it still feels like I'm able to just glide through the nail. It is grabbing. Maybe it's just the black Arkansas finish that really just smooths out the edge and doesn't grab onto the nail as much. Whatever. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Basically, 30 minutes of honing on this blade. It still feels the same. I'm gonna test out some of my leg hair. See if it cuts. The heel needs a little work. It's cutting, but it just needs I have to use a little more pressure on it. It's not cutting as well as I like. Everywhere else, it's cutting pretty well. Alright, so it is cutting here. I don't know if you can see it, there's like a little hair, but so I'm gonna need a little more work at the heel. I might have to do a little bit of a rolling stroke just to get the heel a bit. Visually, I think it looks fine, but I don't think there's any like microchips or anything on the blade. But just it still needs some work. It's cutting, but I want it to the max. So, all right, that's it for this video. Geneva Cutlery Razor. I'm still honing, still setting the bevel. I want it sharp as it can be before I move on. So I'm gonna stay here for a while and then yeah, keep at it. So thank you guys for watching this long video of bevel setting that's still not done, but I'll keep at it. So I'll see you guys next time. See you.